Hello everyone, my name is Jordan and welcome back to another episode of the Bukkit coding series. Although today is not just another episode, today is episode 50, so I thought I'd do something a little different, and instead of going off of my massive video ideas list, and by the way, if you have any suggestions, they are on the list, don't worry, it's just horribly long, but we'll get to things eventually, I promise. But back to this video. Today I thought I'd do something a little special because it's episode 50, and I thought I'd go over some tips and tricks for IntelliJ users and some convention things for your code. So this is not a specific Minecraft Bukkit coding video, but it is in a way, and it's, you'll see what I mean. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the first portion of this video, the IntelliJ tips and tricks. If you don't use IntelliJ, or you just want to skip to the convention and the code part of this video, the timestamp will be on the screen now, so go ahead and go to that time if you want to skip this portion of the video. Awesome. Okay, so now that we're all ready to go with IntelliJ, let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to create a new project here, and you can see here we have this setup page. It'll probably be like smaller for you guys, but mine is large because that's how I have it set. And normally what I used to do is I would go ahead and select Java project, select the SDK, no template, hit next, set it all up. That's not what I want to do for this video, and that's also not what I do now. I have this neat little plugin called Minecraft Development, and what this allows me to do is select the type of plugin I want to make, which for the most part is Spigot plugin. I click that, I hit next, and then I type in my plugin name and the group ID. So we're just going to call this IntelliJ tricks, and then I type in my bundle or my package name, so that's just tech.shadowsystems. Set my version to probably 1.0. Then I could hit Maven or I could do Gradle. For the most part, you want to do Maven when you're working with plugins. I'm not sure how well Gradle would work for something like this. We can go ahead and hit next. Oh, I did that in the wrong. I always do this in the wrong order. You want to put tech.shadowsystems or your package name. Oh, what the heck? I just bugged it. All right, let's do this one more time. So Spigot plugin, you put in your tech.shadowsystems or your package name up here, and then you do your name of your plugin there, and then set the version. Okay, so I always get that mixed up. And the reason I was able to tell is because the plugin name was like tech.shadowsystems or whatever it was here. And that's not what we want. But yeah, so as you can see, it has our plugin name and all this set up properly. Plugin version, we're just going to keep that as 1.0. We can set some optional things down here like description, authors, website, log prefix, all this stuff here. And we can also set load at, post world, or startup. This is something I didn't even know existed until I had this plugin in IntelliJ. So this is like really awesome. So post world or startups, you can choose when you want your plugin to load. By default, this post world, and that's what we want for this. And then right here we have a Minecraft version drop down. It goes all the way to 1.8. So if you want something 1.7 or below, this plugin won't be for you, but it's still pretty nice. So we're just going to set that to the default, which is 1.12.1, which I think recently released. I haven't been keeping track of that, but that's pretty cool. So yeah, we can go ahead and maybe set a description like, my cool plugin, exclamation point, maybe set some authors in here, so Jordan Osterberg, website, we'll just set it to Google, and load before, or dependencies, we can make it depend on like Vault or something, but we don't need to. So we can go ahead and hit next. We can just go ahead and put this on the desktop under IntelliJ tricks, hit finish, and it'll go ahead and create our project for us. Just let it load for a second. This module SDK is not defined will go away. And cool. And then down here, you just want to hit enable auto import for Maven so that it works as expected. Now, before I get into the rest of the IntelliJ tips and tricks, let me show you guys how to download that. So you want to go into your IntelliJ preferences, and this might be different from different operating systems, but for the most part, I think it's the same. So you want to go into your IntelliJ preferences or settings, go to plugins. You can go ahead and type in Minecraft Development, and I don't think it'll show up here. If it does, then awesome, good for you. But I don't think that happens. So what you have to do is you want to say browse repositories, and then this will pop up, and you can go ahead and there'll be some install button somewhere. But yeah, you can go ahead and install it like that, close it, and then apply. And then you can go ahead and set up your plugins like this. It's a lot faster and a lot cooler. And then also, when you do start using Maven or when you start using this plugin, your resources like your config files that you have for default to your plugins need to go in this folder called resources. And then as you can see, we have the authors, my cool plugin, the website, and all that. up here. So yeah, I'm not sure why it adds final here. That's one thing I don't like about the plugin, but it doesn't matter. It's one word. So yeah, that's it. We are ready to go now. And you can also see in here we have our pom.xml. You can see all this stuff we have in here. Yeah, so pretty cool. We can get rid of all this though. We don't need it there. Awesome. So let's go ahead and write some code. And don't follow this convention because this probably won't be very good convention, but just as an example for what this tip is, I'm going to write some code like this. So I'm going to have a method that logs a few things to the console, and then maybe checks for booleans. We're going to say like if true, and then we're going to, I don't know, maybe go like this, like get logger info, yay. Okay, so that's really all we need. Obviously, this isn't going to do anything productive. But what I want to show is if we were to delete these two brackets, we have all this code outspaced here. And then normally you would go back like this, and then just each line you would go backspace. But if you want to do this a lot quicker, what you can do is you can do, for me it's Command-Shift-8. I'm not sure what it is for you, but I'm sure, let's see here. Actually, it might just be in the preferences or in the key map. So let's go ahead and take a look at what it actually is. So let's see, editor actions. Oh yes, here we go. So now if I go ahead and look for the one I was just using right here. So it's going to be column selection mode. So you just want to go into your key map, find your key map in here, and then find column selection mode. And then whatever this says right here, that's what you want to press. So for me, obviously, again, that's Command-Shift-8. And then what you can do is you can go right here, press that key bind, and then hold shift and then move down, and then you can go like this. And then what that lets us do is go there, and then our code is nice and formatted. We can go ahead and just do some extra things to make it look prettier. And there we go, we've just moved the code backwards. And that's something I use all the time if I delete statements, because usually if I'm rewriting code that has a bug, there is going to be a few if statements that I'm going to delete or change or something, and it means the rest of the code is going to get formatted strangely. Unless I do that backspace thing. And originally I was just backspacing every single line, and then eventually maybe I wanted to add that if statement back, so I had to continue adding more lines. Like I had to reverse what I did, and it was just a mess. So yeah, that's we don't like doing it that way. So there you go. You can just use that column selection. Okay, so the next thing I want to show off is under new. And so we're going to create a new Java class. And I've done this a few times in videos before, but I just want to make this a little more known. You can go ahead and create a new class and name it whatever you want. Like, I don't know, we're just going to call it singleton for this example. And you can go ahead and set the kind as a singleton. So normally I don't use singletons because I feel that, it's bad practice to use static even for singletons. But if you do want to generate a singleton, you can just go ahead and select the kind as singleton, and then it'll generate this for you. And you can probably rename this from our instance to just instance, because that makes it a little better. And then format the code to your desires and so on and so forth. But yeah, there you go. We now have a singleton instance. We can access this by saying singleton. Oh my gosh. I'm spelling it wrong. Singleton.getInstance, and now we have that access. Just like that. So pretty easy. That's something that I use all the time if I make singletons. Obviously, I've begun to switch over, so I don't do that as much, but still pretty cool. Now, the next thing I want to show is the really easy thing you can do. So when we have a plugin ready and we're ready to build it, ready to put it on a server, we need to make an artifact. So obviously, you probably already have your artifact here. All this, great. And what you would do is you would say go down and then build artifacts, right? Well, there's a better way to do this. What you can do, and I'm not sure how many people use this. I've had some people on the Discord apparently are using this, but I don't know how known it is, but I just wanted to include it here. What you can do is you can press include in project build, hit apply, and then you can just say build project, and you can see the keybind there is just Command B. So you just press Command B, and you can go ahead and see over here, it's going to generate that jar file for us right here. And we can also press this button and it'll build it as well. So pretty easy and really, really nice. Now the next little tip I wanted to include is not just for IntelliJ, but this is just for any project in general that's using any form of code. Always enable version control. Whether that be a local thing or you put it on GitHub or whatever, always enable it, because now I can go ahead and set it up. So I enable it. I set it up as Git because that's what I like to use for my version control. And then I, set up all my stuff and so on. And then I can go ahead and create new branches in my project whenever it, if it would let me, because I need to add all this stuff. But if I was to create a new branch in my project, I can go make changes that doesn't affect the working version of my plugin. So if I want to add new features without breaking everything, that is a very good way to do it. And you can merge the branches and all that. I think I made a Git tutorial before, so you can go ahead and watch that to learn a little bit more about Git. But IntelliJ packages this in a very nice and neat way. It's one of the best Git and GitHub tools out there. I think right next to Xcode 9, which is recently in beta by Apple. That does it a lot better than IntelliJ, which is kind of hard to think about. But IntelliJ is still pretty good for what it can do. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to go over is the refactor system. So again, I don't know how many people use this, but this is a really, really nice thing to use in a lot of scenarios. So recently I've used this to rename my entire package because it was an old project. I wanted to repackage it, make it prettier, and get it up to date with my new packaging names and all that stuff. So what I did is I went over to the package, went down here, pressed refactor, rename, and then it'll go ahead and ask you what you want to rename it to. So I'm just going to name this plugin, and I can go ahead and preview it or refactor. I'm just going to hit refactor, and it's going to let us know there's things we have to change. You can just press do refactor, and boom, there you go. And so now, as you can see, our package has changed everywhere, and it's changed. There's no issues. It's still going to work. Other than the plugin.yml, you do need to modify this because sometimes it doesn't work. So we just want to say IntelliJ tricks, and now it would compile again. So always check your plugin.yml after you do a package change or a name change in your main class. But this also works for classes. So if we were to go over into Singleton, we want to rename this for whatever reason, we can just change this to my class maybe, refactor it, and done. Everything is changed. Every single reference in any part of your project to my class is automatically changed. So it's, really, really awesome to be able to do things that way. Okay, so that's just about it for my IntelliJ tips and tricks. If you want to know more things you can do in IntelliJ, you can go to the preferences and then key map, and then editor actions, or really wherever you want. You can just find different things in here that could be really, really helpful. Those are just things I use all the time, and it's really, really awesome. So let's go ahead and switch over into the second part of the video for convention. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so as you can see, I've went ahead and written this amazing class here. It does some really cool stuff. It can tell players hello, it can kill them, and then it can check if they've been killed by that method. So really, really awesome stuff, and this plugin is awesome. I'm planning on releasing this on Spigot and other places, except I wanted to just make sure this is top of the line convention, and clearly it's not. So as you can see, there's many, many things wrong with this, and we also have one more thing to show, which is bad access, which is one more thing we're using here. Whoops, you know what, I never even called this. Let's just make sure this is proper. Bad access. Okay, cool. Awesome. So there we go. Now we're actually in amazing convention status. Okay, so let's just take a look at some of this code. So we have this player data map with a player and a string. It's public and static. We have C1, which is say hello. It's a public static string. Same thing with C2. And then we have my command string. And then we have an instance of our plugin. Bad convention, and then we set it up here. We have a bad access thing that we're accessing, which is over here. We have an on disable that doesn't do anything, and we have an accessor for bad convention, which isn't being used. And then we have our on command, which checks all this stuff, uses this symbol for color codes, does this, which this could be a boolean, and then all sorts of stuff here. So as you can see, this plugin is not quite ready to be released on Spigot. There's many issues with convention here, and if you're writing plugins like this, then you really should just take a step back and look at your convention, which is part of the reason why I'm making this video, is because I've seen some pretty bad convention, and this is just like, this is a really extreme, like this is built to show bad convention. So obviously a plugin really wouldn't be a whole lot like this. And one thing I actually haven't shown is having things like this. where you have a ton of spaces in between your string and then your things here or whatever they are. So I'll just add that in there because I've seen that recently in open source projects, and it was just pretty sad. And let's actually, so now that we've seen all this code, let's look at bad access. So we have a singleton in here. Singleton name is just get. We have a public static void access, and then it logs that with the my plugin instance there. Okay, so got it. So let's just this is all pretty bad. Let's take a look at some better convention, which is convention and access. So here you can see we have a dead map with a player and a boolean. We have on enable, we have access, and we're using dependency injection to pass our instance of our convention class around rather than using singletons. Now, I just want to make a quick disclaimer. Singletons are not inherently bad. It's just I prefer to use dependency injection because when you have statics, things can get messy. You can have memory leaks. You can have some really strange method names and other junk, and it just gets really weird. So I prefer dependency injection. That's what I've been using in recent videos, and that's what I'm going to continue to use until there's a better way of doing it. So with that out of the way, on disable, we're clearing our dead map, and then right here we actually check. Oh, this is one thing I didn't note in the bad convention, didn't even see it. We're checking that the player or the sender of the command is actually a player, so that when we cast them, it's not going to crash. We have our labels down here with just like say hello, so we know exactly what they're doing. We're using this chat color translate method with the and sign, so we're not using that unfriendly symbol, which by that I mean this one right here. And actually, recently I've actually had a few conversations about that symbol and why it's bad. And I just want to make a video or a piece of this video about that. The reason it's bad is it can, it's possible that it changes in future versions of the game. Now, we don't know it will, and it probably honestly won't, but it's just bad practice to be using that symbol hard-coded because this chat color method is a Bukkit API. It will always work, and we know that for sure. And then one thing I've also seen is that for some reason that symbol can cause a lot of problems when you pass your code around, whether it be through Git or a zip file or wherever you're passing your code or giving your code to someone else. It might change and it might mutate between operating systems or wherever, and it's just really messy to fix every single time. And then eventually you might not even notice it, and you'll put your plugin in your server, and all your chat is going to look really strange with no colors and so on. So that's just another reason, and I'm sure there's more. But just, use the chat color translate method. It's a lot better. And you can even stick it in a utility class, and make it nice and pretty. So with that little bit out of the way, oh yeah, one thing I didn't note in here. Oh, I didn't change this. Hold on. Let's just make this even worse. There we go. Awesome. So as you can see in the bad convention, we're damaging them for this 999 arbitrary value. Right here, we're damaging them for their health, so we know they're actually going to die here. On the other hand, they might have one more, or maybe even a lot more than this number for health, and so they're not going to die. So, it's best to kill them for that health. Just make sure, that your command does what it says. You're not using arbitrary values unless you're supposed to for whatever reason. So that's that one out of the way. With this dead map, we're using a boolean instead of a string. We're putting in that true. And then inside of our isDead command, when we're checking that, we have this get or default method, which makes sure that if there is no value for this player, it's just going to default to false, and then go down here and execute all of this. So yeah, that's our convention here, and you can see we have none of this stuff. None of our stuff is static. There is no static method throughout this entire version of the plugin, and it runs pretty much almost the same as our bad convention plugin. The only difference is our bad convention has cases where it will crash. Because of this this get method with the true. They might not have any data, and we're checking on a null value if it equals true, which will cause an exception, cause our command not to work. And then the same deal, we know what our commands are, and it follows good convention. Like, I don't know what C1 is or C2 is, or my command string, my plugin, player data. I don't know what any of this does. When in convention, it's just one thing, dead map. And I understand that dead map, it's a map for player, death. It's kind of self-explanatory when you have a player, a boolean, and the name is dead map. Could make this a little more clear, like, I don't know, you can make this player dead map using the refactoring. Whoops, I gotta actually I always hit escape. Player dead map. So as you can see, it actually works it makes a little more sense with a player dead map. So we'll just set it to that, make it even better. And then we're using our chat color stuff and all that. So it's just a lot better all around. Now, I want to quickly show off dependency injection because some people are not noticing this in newer videos, and I don't think I've ever publicly said, oh, this is dependency injection. So I just want to go over this right now. This is dependency injection. So let me explain exactly what this is. So we have a private convention instance here, and when we create our access class in the constructor for access, we have a convention requirement. We need convention here, and we set it up here, and then we access the logger without using any statics because in order to even access this class, we need an instance of convention, and that's what we pass in here is this variable which references our convention class. So there's that. Now, one thing that I couldn't show, I didn't make two plugin.ymls, is bad plugin.ymls. So when you just list your commands out like this, it's best to add descriptions of some sort or have something. I understand if you don't add descriptions, they're not 100% necessary. It's just a good idea too. So we're just gonna type these out real quick. Say hello to the player. Description kills the player. And then is the player, or has the player been killed with the /dead command. So now it makes a little more sense to the players what each of these commands do, and life is good. And I think that's generally it for this convention. Oh, there's a few. I keep remembering the things I've made here. So we made this my plugin instance public, and so in here we're just accessing it like this. This is poor, especially since we have this get main method. Even though it's called get main, you should be using that anyway if you've made it. So that's just something to note, but we're just gonna not have that there. And again, bad access is just called get. I don't know what get means. If we were to say get bad access, it would make more sense to me, but it's just called get. And then right here, you can obviously make this clear, but use proper casing. So in Java, you're supposed to use lower camel case, and let me explain exactly what lower camel case is. So we have lower camel case, and the way I've typed this plugin is a lot of things in here are snake case. So that's a snake case. So lower camel case, you see has the first word in the name of the variable is lowercase, and then everything following it, every new word is capitalized. It's the humps of the camel, and then this is the head. And then right here with snake case, it's just all lowercase with underscores in between the words. So in Java, you do not use snake case. You use lower camel case. That's how everything is written in your plugin, or your Java program should be written that way as well. Okay. So, and then the last thing, finally the last thing, is on disable inside of the actual good convention class, we're clearing this map to prevent any memory leaks. We're going to free up that memory and make sure it's, there's no issues with memory leaks there. Okay, so now that we're finally done, I hope you learned something for convention. If you didn't learn anything, I hope you learned something from the IntelliJ tips and tricks section. The link to IntelliJ will be down in the description. And the link to the Minecraft development plugin will also be in the description in case you don't want to download it through the plugin thing. That's for people who didn't watch that section. It's a plugin I showed for IntelliJ. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you do have any questions about things in here, or maybe I somehow had some bad convention in this convention class, I don't think I did. But if I did, please let me know, and I will put an annotation on the screen correcting myself. Other than that, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like. And we're going to be starting a new series in the next video. So I'm very excited for that. And I can't wait to see you all there. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care.